Well, you've had an opportunity to see and hear the president at a national and international town hall meeting. A number of questions was asked by victims of police brutality, as well as those who felt that they were victims of protesters throwing things at honest police officers. My take on this is this. It's generally what happens after there was a big blow up. There would not have been a town hall meeting had not the five officers were shot. There's no doubt about it. And so there was no town hall meeting, national town hall meeting with the president after the nine people were killed by Daylan Roof in Charleston. And so again, it kind of gives the perception that white lives do matter and black lives don't matter. And I know there will be people who will disagree with that, but I think we've seen it. We've seen it before. It didn't happen with Freddie Gray. It didn't happen with Michael Brown. It actually didn't happen with Trayvon Martin or Sandra Bland. It took five police officers getting killed to have this national and international dialogue. It just happened to happen within the same week that two black men were brutally murdered by the police. Now, the president gave some very simple answers that we need more resources for the police. Need to make sure that the police have due process, that police officers' lives are shattered when they kill someone. The police know, oh, this was the lieutenant governor said that the police know that he has their back. He didn't say that the citizens know that he has their back, or that black folks in Texas know that he has their back. Just that the police know that he has their back. And Mr. President, they need to know that you have their back. Can you put on a blue light when you go home? Nothing about the people from the lieutenant governor. We also saw things are better. Oh, the president said that things are better than they used to be. And of course, no one can really argue that. You don't drink out of a white fountain, even though all the water was coming from the same pipe anymore, or a black fountain. He also said that. Oh no, this was the police chief who says that cops care more about black lives than black people do. And of course, he contradicted himself. He named the figures in terms of how black folks kill black folks, but also indicate that most folks kill folks that they live with. In fact, in the white community, is 89% of folks who are killed in the white community are killed by white folks. In the black community, is 93%. So violence is more prevalent by a few percentage points. I just tend to think that the discussion, as when you go and you listen to the discussion that I had with Bob Law, as he said, the wrong question is asked. First of all, there were no police officers there who had been accused and gotten off, but whose records show that time and time again they have had these unquestionable or questionable shootings, that issues have been raised by the membership in racist motorcycle clubs, or by the tattoos that they have on their body that are associated with white symbols. There was no discussion about laws to weed out the bad officers on the force. They tend to, if something happens, they will go to another police force. If there was in the city of Detroit, there was a guy who was a skinhead. He had been relieved of duty in one police agency and went to another, and then ended up shooting and killing someone. So I think after 5 years, their records can be expunged, and therefore there's no record of it. We need to extend that. Also, since a cop is held to a greater standard when you kill a cop, you're held to a greater standard and a greater punishment. If a cop kills an innocent citizen, person, black, white, yellow, red, kills a innocent person, unarmed person, then that cop should also be held to a greater standard of punishment because he or she has taken an oath to serve, an oath to protect. Another point, a good point, that the police chief made, and he said that the black community who criticize us also depend on them to support, to protect. Well, that's it. That's what police are there for. And if we took law and order into our own hand, then we would be found guilty of being vigilante and taking the law into our own hands. So whether you want to call a police officer or not, you end up having to, even under suspicion, when you do so. But I suggest that he has a good point. We need to begin to police ourselves by starting with our own actions, policing our own action, and making sure that we do not disrespect black life in our own community, black lives in our own community, and that we begin to set up citizen patrols in our community. In some communities, you have those. There's nothing wrong, and that's lawful to set up citizens controls. And if you're in communities where you can have open carry, or you get a concealed weapons permit and you patrol your own community, then you won't need to call in the police and you won't need to worry about somebody shooting you down because of the color of your skin. I have one person who listened in on my Facebook page, Caucasian gentleman, and he said, well, you can't tell when a cop is a racist. There's no test. Well, and that black cops are racist. Well, black cops are not racist. Black cops may have a problem with black folks in the community, and they have to prove or feel they have to prove to other cops that they're just as hard. And they may not like the criminal element or those who they perceive to be criminal elements in the black community and may treat them harshly. But I don't see black cops shooting down young black teenagers like I'm seeing black cops, white cops doing that. Plus, again, to go to the question of racism, racism is not about prejudice. Racism is about institutional background. It's about power and the ability to use and define that power. It is about white supremacy. The only true form of racism in the world is white supremacy and the privilege thereof, and the institutional foundation of white supremacy to make it happen. We're not talking about low-life, gut bucket Klansmen. We're talking about at the highest level of decision making and implementation of policy and power of wealth, and how that attitude then ripples shape through and down to a cop on the beat. So we need to understand that you can't just throw racism out. Oh, blacks are racist, yellow folks are racist, and so on and so forth. If you're in China and they are in power, then there may be some racism in that sense. But the only institutional form of racism that we've seen in the world is what is the myth of white supremacy, I should say. So it was a good attempt to let people blow off steam. It was orchestrated. It was controlled. It was not a town hall meeting where folks could stand up and say, I have a question. I like to ask this. I have a comment. I like to make this comment. Everybody that talked was pre-selected. pre-selected. That's not a town hall meeting. That is an orchestrated show, a road show. That's my take on it.